Ronnie being the kidster that he always is. Hey everyone, welcome to our October session for Jira Advanced Roadmaps. Today we're going to be talking about plans, and I anticipate this one to be probably one of the quicker sessions. I don't know how much I can squeeze out of scenarios. I'm going to teach you how to enable them, how they work, give you a couple of examples, and then open it up for questions. And so this might be one of the most historic, smaller community-led trainings that I'll do here on this channel. So let's jump into plan scenarios, and let me show you what these are, how they work, what they do, why they work, and how you can take advantage of them. A couple friendly reminders. The session is being recorded. It's going to be available on YouTube after. Slides are not available. I literally have like one word on these slides, and so we are not going to have a whole lot there. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you can know where to find this and many other trainings. I do have a lot of trainings on the advanced roadmaps and plans, so lots and lots of trainings. And then I have a bunch of trainings that are not even related to plans with respect to Jira administration, Agile, and just getting started with Jira. So lots of trainings. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button here. Say hello in the chat. We got a couple people in the chat here already, and Ronnie's already trolling with the trolls. And so I say we review the perfect sprint after we finish them. That perfect sprint is one of my most popular videos, Ronnie. So haters gonna hate. Check out the leaderboard. YouTube's got this cool thing where the more you comment, the more up in the ranks you'll move up. And so there's a pretty cool leaderboard here with everybody tuning into the live stream. So make sure you're interacting and ask questions. As I mentioned, this is going to be a pretty short one, so feel free to ask questions. If there was ever a time for you to have time to ask questions, this is probably going to be the one. If you haven't already, also I have membership opportunities. We do early access to all the videos. We do exclusive videos, whether they're live streams or special recorded videos. But as members, you get a couple of extra bonuses. And then, yeah, we also do have Super Chat available. So if you do find this training helpful, feel free to use that Super Chat. It's only popular because I thought it's so hard. Is anyone having trouble getting through the event through the calendar? I hope not. People are slowly trickling in. Hopefully I got the event set up correctly. I do set these up when I'm half awake, so might have messed something up, but hopefully people can jump in and get in here. All right. Before we get into it, though, just a friendly reminder, we're T-minus less than 1 month. We're officially 30 days away from the biggest event of the year, other than the Atlassian conferences themselves. We're doing the Atlassian Builder Summit. This is happening October 22nd through the 24th in Long Beach, California. And oops, I forgot to copy an H, so disregard that link. We got to give you the actual link. Posting the link here in the chat and the comments if you guys care for it. We have 203 registrations out of the 250. We ended up bumping this up to 250. So we got about like 47 links left. I am getting some, hold up, folks. We may have to take a little side journey here. I may have not updated the event here, so let me make sure that I might have messed up the event. I usually, as a muscle memory, because this is like the 1000th one that I've done, I usually put the link into the event, but I may have forgotten to do that. So give me a second here, folks. I may have forgotten to put the link. So let me go and make sure. Yep, the meeting link is not there. So I don't know how I forgot that. Okay, so just published it. Link should be there. Folks should be able to trickle in. Calendar link should be working, and hopefully we don't bombard the the emails with all the requests of people not being able to join. So hopefully folks are able to join in now. Okay. I thought it was a little strange. I was expecting a few more people, but at this point, I'm so tired that we're all good with whoever's here. Okay. So anyways, 250 seats available. We are down to the last like 47 or so. So if you're thinking, or if you're just, on the edge, only place you're going to be able to get your physical copy of the Big Book of Atlassian. Let me tell you, folks, this book is coming along nicely. So the only place to get this stuff is going to be at the event. So if you haven't booked, I recommend you book this week. Hotels, this is the last full week of being able to get the hotel rate. And so if you're missing out on some stuff, this is it. The FOMO will kick in about, 10, 12 days. All right. So make sure you sign up now or forever hold your peace. All right, a little bit about me in case this is the first time you're tuning in. My name's Alex. I make YouTube videos here on the internet. I have a couple of engineering degrees and I have a few Atlassian certifications. I have a couple YouTube channels, this being my main one. I'm also the co-host of the Jira Life, and I'll drop a link to my link tree so you can find all the different things that that I have available. One of the biggest things is if you need any help, any one-on-one help, I do offer a couple of different offerings there for one-on-one help. So whether you need 30 minutes, an hour, a couple of hours, I'm available to help you out with your Jira problems. So if you feel that any of this stuff is going way over your head, let's sit down and let's chat. All right, so what are we going to be learning today? So as I mentioned, we have one thing, and we're going to talk about scenarios. In retrospect, I did set these up 10 months ago. And so maybe scenarios, I was a little bit overconfident and thought that I'd be able to squeeze a whole lot more out of this, but scenarios is what you get. And so we're going to jump into scenarios and go into Jira. So again, we got a little bit of a smaller group today. My fault. I forgot to put the link, but hopefully people will start trickling in now that the link is now available and published on the actual event. Oh, wait, nope. It's asking me for, I hate Bevy sometimes so much. I wish Bevy was a better tool. Okay. Anyways, we now have a requirement that you have to put the minimum amount of seats that the event's for, even though a year ago when I set these all up, you didn't need to put that. So publish button doesn't work, but okay. I think I'm all squared away now. I think the event should be working inside of Bevy. All right, let's jump into plans. Just a friendly reminder, in case you've been living under a rock for the last 9 months, plans is a enterprise and premium only feature. So if you're not on Jira Premium or if you're not on Jira Enterprise, you're not going to be getting very far with plans. You do need to be on the advanced version of plans. And then the other requirement here is you do need to have a plan, right? So for you to work scenarios, you need to have an existing plan or at least create a new plan. You'll have to go back to one of the older videos. I'm just going to be operating off of an existing plan. And so that's essentially what you need to know. Those are the requirements, right? You need to be on the premium or enterprise version of Jira, and then you need to have an existing plan so that we can do this. And so what exactly is a scenario? Well, when you look at your plan, as I have shown here on my screen, you have a bunch of work, right? You have epics, you have stories, maybe you have initiatives, you have a bunch of statuses, you have start dates, due dates. Then you have this beautiful, lovely graph that shows you dependencies, right? You have the ability to do your group by, so you can group by the assignee if you wanted to. You can group by, I don't know, whatever you want, projects, right? If you have multiple projects. You have these plans, right? And you come up with these ideas. You come up with these, scenarios. And I'm trying not to use the scenario to define a scenario, but you have this ideal plan, right? Where you're like, okay, this is what we plan to do, right? These are the priorities. These are the works. These are who things are assigned to, right? And we know to a certain degree, at least we try to, using the plans, we come up with a battle plan, right? We're going to go to war. The war is the project, and we're going to the best of our ability, execute to this plan, right? And that's great. That's awesome. You should definitely have that. Except life doesn't always work out the way we want it to work, right? Life is always throwing a bunch of curveballs at us. And one of my favorite quotes, right? Life gives you lemons, you learn how to make lemonade. And so scenarios are kind of for that. Scenarios are your contingency plan, if you will, right? They're your what if plan. They're designed to kind of experiment. Yeah, chat, sorry about that. I thought I was being on a roll. I set up like 4 events yesterday and I thought I set them all up, but apparently I forgot to copy the link into one of them, and this is the one. So as long as Rodney's not yelling at me because I didn't mess up his events, I think we're all good. But yeah, life gives you lemon. You're not throwing them back at life hard enough, is what Rodney says. So anyway, so life gives you lemons, right? And sometimes people get sick. Sometimes we have new scope. Sometimes we have budgets cut. Sometimes there's layoffs, right? Sometimes there's an increase in coworkers, right? Sometimes there's an increase in budgets, and like all of a sudden you have all these resources, and so life's gonna happen, right? So you're gonna have the perfect plan, and then life's gonna come at you hard. And so the scenarios inside the plans are designed to help you kind of visually see those what if scenarios, right? Like what happens if we lose half the team? What happens if we have double the budget, right? What happens if we have half the schedule, right? Like what happens if if all of a sudden we thought we had 6 months to get the project done, now we only have 3 months? Like, what happens? Because when you go to move the dates, right? When you go to reassign things to different people or move all the dates, you're messing with the plan, and you don't want to mess with the plan, because until contracts are signed and there's ink on the paper, those what if scenarios are just what ifs. They're just possibilities. They're not something that's actually going to happen, or at least might not happen. And so you want to create, or at least Jira gives us the ability to create these scenarios that allow us to kind of experiment. They allow us to try different hypothetical scenarios to see how schedules are going to slip, or resources are going to be having to be utilized and whatnot. So that's, my friends, is what the plans are for. And so, sorry, that, my friends, is what the scenarios are for. And so now I'm going to give you like how to turn them on, and then give you a couple of examples on how to use them. And then we'll be done. Hopefully I'll have like 30 minutes of lecture here. But again, this might be the smallest one we've done. All right. So prerequisite, your premium enterprise, because we definitely have people trickling in now that people have found the link, right? So prerequisite is we have to be on the enterprise or premium version of Jira, and we have to have a plan. And then the scenarios is more optional, but trust me, life tends to throw you lemons. And so we're going to figure out how to make lemonade. All right, so what do we do with our plan? So you're going to click on the 3 dots for your plan. So this is up here next to your plan name. And we're going to go to our plan settings. Once we are inside of our plan settings, you may be tempted to look for scenarios. And if you've ever looked at somebody else's plan that does have scenarios enabled, you might have noticed that here on the left-hand side, the word scenarios should show up. But it's only there once you enable scenarios. Scenarios are not enabled by default. And so we need to go turn that on first, and then we're going to be able to go configure our scenarios. So let's go teach you how to turn scenarios on first. And so the first thing you want to do here is you want to go to features. Now, hopefully, fingers crossed, you are all on the new UI for plans. Atlassian loves to change things that aren't broken, and plans was definitely not broken. And so here we have a brand new UI and a new UX. So we have features here on the top, and you're going to see that we have a couple different things like releases, auto scheduler, and scenarios. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to turn on scenarios. And so all you have to do is literally just slide the slider, turn it on. That's all you got to do. And scenarios is now on. You're going to notice that over here on the left-hand side, our scenarios are now on. We get a nice little pop-up from Atlassian telling us scenarios are now on. And then if you need any extra help, always feel free to click open on these items. And this is going to open up the help. And this is going to give you documentation for how to use scenarios. Now, it is very brief, probably more brief than this training. And so I'm going to give you probably the most amount of information that's going to be available out there. But keep in mind that these are dynamic links that will open up the help desk or help panel on the right side. All right, so that's step 1. Make sure our scenarios are turned on. Yay, we have scenarios. We are good to go. Let's go over to our scenarios, because you'll notice that this is now visible. You have now officially enabled scenarios, and we're ready to start creating our scenarios. And so essentially what happens is the current scenario, the one that you have when you create the plan, that becomes your initial scenario. I recommend you call this one like best case or something like current case, right? You want to identify that the current plan, the one that you've been working off of for weeks, months, years, decades, that is the plan, right? So, or like you can call it like main plan or something like that, right? You just want to indicate that whatever you have in there today, that is the plan, okay? Because you're not going to alter the main plan. We want to continue to execute with the main plan until things happen. Because until certain, something serves as a catalyst, right? Something that triggers us to have to alter our plan, we don't want to mess with the main plan. So you should leave main plan. And I like to change the color to like this light green, right? Green's always good. Green in the stoplight chart, right? If you had a red, yellow, green's always good. Green's all go. And so I like to make my main plan to be either the light green or the regular green. I just think this green's a little too dark, but I like to go with this light green and just say, this is the main plan. So that's the first thing you're going to want to do once you enable your scenarios, is make sure you're clearly labeling your current plan, because you don't want to get confused. You don't want to get lost in all these different plans. And we can stop there if you wanted to, right? So if you stop there and you actually go back to your plan, you're going to notice that we now have a main plan here. And this is the plan, right? Now, we can always get back to our scenarios by going back to our plan settings, or if you click on this main plan, and this is also going to be a new part of the UI. This is now visible when you enable scenarios because you can now toggle between your different scenarios. So I'm going to click on the plan here and click on manage scenarios, and this is going to bring us right back. So there's two different ways to get there. You can either go to the plan settings and then click on scenarios, or just go into the scenario and then pick manage scenarios. But what we want to do now is we want to create a contingency plan, if you will, right? So I'm going to call this one, if I knew how to spell contingency plan. And what you can do is two things. You can either A, make a brand new scenario, right? So you're going to have like defaulted whatever's in there, start dates and everything in there. So we're going to do one. I'm going to actually do one like this, blank, just so that I can show you. Pick your color. We're going to go with, let's go with red on this one. And then again, we're going to go blank. You do have the option to make a copy of, and we're going to show you what that looks like in just a second, right? But let's just create a blank one from here, and we're going to hit create. And now it's red, right? So if I go back to my plan, see how the view is right here. We have these fields, right? We have this view. I can change to contingency, and not a whole lot changed, but we do have slightly different views here on this particular view with this. We can toggle back and forth. You can see that I have a few more epics that I pulled in here. I have these BI ones are not in the contingency plan, okay? And mainly because my main plan, you're going to see that I have unsafe changes. And when I go to look at those unsafe changes, you'll see that these particular changes here with these BIs, they haven't been saved to that plan. We'll come back to that in a second, but just know that there are going to be differences, right? We're going to be able to essentially either when you create a blank one, start new, right? No unsafe changes. You just start with the bare bones, whatever data is inside of the Jira work items, that's what you're going to have over here. Okay. So that's the contingency plan when we go with the blank. Now let's go do another one. So let's go do backup plan, right? And this one, we're going to make it a copy of the main plan, and just to kind of show what those two different items look like. And this time we're going to go with this baby blue here. We're going to click on create. And so now we have a couple of plans. And so when I go back, we're going to switch over to our backup plan. And the biggest thing that you're going to notice is that our unsafe changes from the main plan also came over. So that's pretty important, right? So you want to consider, again, whatever work you have in that main plan. My recommendation is I typically work off of a copy off the first plan, right? It's because I just want to carbon copy what I have already, because it's already, data that I've organized, data that I've kind of set up and configured to a certain degree. I've set it all up, and I just want to copy it because now I want to mess with it, right? I don't want to make any changes that impact the main plan. I want to make the changes here. All right. So that, my friends, feel free to ask any questions. Like I mentioned, this is going to be a short one. So if you have any questions on how to enable the scenarios and how to create the scenarios, let me know if I need to go back. But I essentially just showed you how to create a few different scenarios, how to change the colors, and then of course you can always throw them away. Be very, very careful with you start deleting things, because once you delete things inside of Jira, they like to be deleted, right? And so you want to be very, very, very careful there to not necessarily throw something away that you absolutely needed. So be very, very careful there, okay? All right. Again, any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. How are we feeling, chat? Now that everybody's kind of figuring it out, again, my apologies to everybody who came in a little late. That was my bad. I forgot to put the link to the YouTube video in the bevy. Hopefully the emails don't get bombarded too badly. Let me check those real quick. Usually I mute. So funny story, folks. Because I do a lot of events, because I do a lot of these community-led events, we get bombarded with a lot of emails. So every time that somebody signs up for an event, we get hit with everything. And there's 9,000 of you all in this particular chapter, and there's hundreds of events happening all the time, right? And so yeah, premium is the best way to go with YouTube. You don't get any ads. But yeah, so I just get bombarded with so many emails from this platform that we have to use from Atlassian. And so I tend to just throw all those emails away. And so I normally don't watch them all the time, but every once in a while, I will keep an eye out on all those emails, because I literally get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds a day. So hopefully y'all didn't bombard um, that poor group, because there's also like 50 of us, that 50 of us get all the emails all day long. So quite the setup that Atlassian has given us here. So I don't see anything though. I don't see any major complaints from anyone. So I think that's good. All right. So we got our scenarios. Mal, sorry about the ads. Again, this is just how YouTube works. It's an ad platform. But I personally have YouTube Premium, and it's revolutionary. I don't know that I'll ever be able to go back to ads. It's just quite annoying to have ads, but that's why YouTube Premium subscriptions exist. Okay, so we have our plan. We have some scenarios, and now we're ready to kind of shift into the second half of this whole thing. It's like, okay, so we made some scenarios. Now what? What are we supposed to do? Well, that's the beauty of the scenario. You can do literally anything you want, right? And so I'm in my backup plan, the one that I made from a copy, and I can start doing this. I can start adding epics, right? So I can start throwing epics in. I can throw in some bugs and go, okay, these are bugs we're gonna want to prioritize here. That shouldn't have happened there, but we'll live with that, right? And so we're gonna fill up our items here, and you can see that we have unsafe changes. And so this is okay. We're not gonna hit that button yet, but essentially you can alter things, right? So if all of a sudden we have dates that are gonna have to slip, right? If we need to move resources around and go, wait, we need to move things around. Oh, why aren't you letting me move things? All right, let's just go this way, right? If I'm having to update, yep, okay. Yes, I understand. So let's just say we're doing this and we're doing this. We can now move our dates around. We can start basically moving resources, right? We can start going, okay, we're going to change things around because we have new information, or again, we're going to have a schedule slip or something bad's going to happen, right? So I can start moving things this way and going, okay, this is how we're going to fix that dependency that we had in the last plan. And if you ever need to go back, you just go simply back to your main plan, and those dates for those events that I just moved, they're still in the old way, right? They're still kind of how they're supposed to be. But in my backup plan, hopefully these things are going to be a better plan. We can set these up a little bit better, right? So I don't have the dependency bad anymore, right? Additionally, if I want to bring in like my assignee, I can bring in the assignee and I can start assigning things to people. So I can go, okay, let's assume that Alana is going to do this one, Lena is going to take care of this one, right? I can start assigning work to people and start to try to figure out, okay, so how many resources do I have per person, right? If you have all the features enabled and you're specifically have like this program planning enabled that we talked about a couple months ago, then you can kind of see the capacity of your specific sprints and whatnot, right? And that's another thing, right? So if you are working with sprints and you want to kind of move things around, you can start going, okay, let's move this one to this sprint. This one's going to go to this other sprint, right? And you can do all these changes. You can do all of these like theoretical, like what happens if we change it this way? What happens if we move it to that sprint, right? And you can do all of this without impacting the main plan, because when I go to the main plan and I go to my sprint field, right, if I pull in sprint and I pull in the assignee, you're going to notice that things are still just the way I left them. There are no things in sprints, right? And this is the beauty. This is what makes the plans very powerful, is that you can look at all these changes, you can discuss them, you can articulate them with your team, and you don't have to push them. You don't have to save the changes, because once you save the changes, then they become the rule, right? They override. At least I think they do. We're going to test that in a second, right? But this allows you to have these conversations with your team, very theoretical, very like hypothetical. In a perfect world, imagine if we had all of a sudden all the budget in the world, or maybe your schedule got cut in half and now all of a sudden you got to compress everything, right? Well, you can visually see what the impact is going to be. You can say, okay, we got things, we have things that are impacted because of a schedule cut. So now I have to move things around. So I have to move things for a different release. So this would be a great time to bring in your releases as well, so that you can go, okay, so this particular epic is going to go, oops, I need to enable features. Oh, I need to enable releases. So I don't have any releases for this one. All right, that's fine. We'll deal with the one we do have, right? So we have releases here. And so once you start kind of getting a better picture for what's possible, right? You can reshift your releases. You can replan things to a different sprint. You can reassign things. Let's just assume that Mitch is going to be out. Well, we can start assigning things to Alana, but then we can start looking at Alana's workload and going, wait, Alana's got too much going on now. And so we got to balance things out. And so this just lets you kind of work things out so that you can set them up the way you want to, right? And just, again, try out those theoretical, hypothetical scenarios that maybe might happen, maybe might not happen, right? Maybe you're waiting for some approval or something like that. So that's what the scenarios are for, right? But once you finish, right, once you're good and you're like, okay, this is going to be the new version. This is what we want. You have two options. You can either A, go back to the main plan and make the same changes, which nobody's going to want to do that, or you simply just save your changes here, right? And so when I change all this here, I'm going to push those save changes, and we're going to wait for a little paint to dry. And we're going to keep waiting. 33%, 67, 93, 99, there. So all these changes have been pushed in. So now if I open up, which one did we change here? Let's open up this MP1. So if I open up MP1, we're going to have a fixed version on this one. Here's the fixed version. We have the new due dates, right? We have the new assignee, wherever my assignee is at. Where did I put my assignee? No, assignee's out of the way at the top. So we have our assignee, right? So all that information got updated. That's good. But now when we go to our main plan, I'm going to do a quick refresh here. You'll notice that these changes didn't get committed. And so this is where you do want to be careful now, right? Because if you are going to be working off scenarios, this is going to be one of our gotchas where these changes are different. And so you do run the possibilities to contradict yourself. And so you want to be very careful to now audit these a little bit more carefully, because you might run into a scenario where you had a plan, and for the most part, we do have this information. So you can see that Jira's smart enough to catch that we added things like this fixed version here, and we have these sprints here. But what's not pushed in is this particular child for this MP4. So if I open up my MP4, let me go to MP4 here. We have BI1 as a child, which is changed. It is pushed in, right? But it got pushed in because of the backup plan had it pushed in. So this change got pushed. I would have thought, being very transparent with you, I would have thought that Atlassian would have caught that just the same way I added the fixed version here, and I would have committed it. But apparently it didn't. It's still wanting to do it over here. So again, I would audit anytime that you publish a scenario just as a CYA, just as a catcher, to make sure, again, you're not introducing conflicted data, I guess the best way I can describe it. You want to make sure that you double check that these are still valid. Chances are that if you push them in another scenario, that they got taken care of. And so you can either just discard the changes because they're irrelevant now, or you can push those changes in. And so it's up to you on what you want to do there, but I would just caution you to double check the work, because sometimes Jira is going to get it right, sometimes it's not. And when you're running multi-million-dollar projects, I'm not going to chance myself with trying to see if Atlassian gets their part right or not. And so that is how that works. And so anyways, those are scenarios. The only thing you need to know is if you ever want to turn scenarios off, you just go back to your plan settings and you go back to your scenarios, right? You can delete a specific scenario. So maybe you don't want the scenario anymore. Again, be very, very careful. Don't just delete stuff for the sake of deleting stuff. Be very, very intentional when you delete stuff. Or if you just want to turn off scenarios altogether, you're turning it off for the entire plan. Now, a couple more caveats that you should be aware of. Scenarios are enabled on a plan-to-plan basis. So just because I have it on this plan, if I go to this marketing roadmap and I go to my plan settings, come on, there we go. You're going to see that scenarios are not turned on there. So you do need to go and turn them on for each scenario. And then the other thing that you need to be aware of is that there is a section under settings and products. And then under plans, there is a permission section and there is a plans administrator. So if you're not able, right, so just from a troubleshooting perspective, if you're not able to turn on scenarios, just make sure you're in the right group that then has the ability to edit and work on the administrative functions of the plans, just as a catcher, right? Just as a little, again, another little CYA, just to make sure that in case you're having trouble, you can very easily go in and check and see if you have the right permission to do that. So anyways, folks, that's pretty much it. Like I told you, that was a quick one. I just have simple scenarios. Go and use them. Go and take advantage of them. I think they're really great to have. Just don't get confused, right? Always know which scenario you are in, because if you get lost in here and you start modifying the wrong scenario, don't come at me. I gave you the warnings, and so you want to make sure it's always very clear, very like overly cautious. You should be overly cautious on which plan you are using. And the other thing you should know is that the scenarios are different than the views. The views alter your fields and which fields are visible, and the scenario doesn't. The scenario is literally just the data itself, the actual dates, the actual start date, the actual due date, the actual signing, is the sprint, right? And it's less important on the which fields are visible. Those are still going to be handled by your view, but don't confuse like the scenarios with your views. Those are going to be, I think it's going to be easy to interchange those words, but don't make that mistake, because then you're just going to confuse yourself even more. So you want to be very careful here, and you want to make sure you are, always aware of which plan you're in and where you're making changes. All right. So with that said, I think we're good. Just want to remind you all again that the Atlassian Builder Summit is happening October 22nd through the 24th. We are down to like the last 47 seats. We have quite the starstruck lineup here. So in case you missed it, it's 3 days happening in person, Long Beach, California. We are going to have giveaways. We're going to have a Super Smash Brothers tournament. We have this cool we have this really cool giant Bowser that we're going to be giving away. So bring some extra space in your suitcase. It's going to have a lot of networking opportunities. So we have an opening keynote, but we have a reception. So first night, we're just going to, hang out. The beach is really, really close, so we might walk down to the beach. And so if you haven't signed up, again, I highly recommend you sign up for the event, because we are down to the last 47 spots, folks. Once those 47s come, once they get filled, that's it. There's no more. We're not opening up any more seats. We're completely at capacity. And so definitely make sure you take advantage of that. And then come down and check out our speakers. We have some amazing speakers, and Rodney's going to be there. Mel says, so changes to one scenario will impact storage and dependencies in the actual backlog. Scenarios are not like sandbox. Correct. So, well, kind of. So Mel, the changes, right? So when you move something in your scenario, like let's just say you add let's just say you have this particular story and you assign it to somebody, right? That doesn't get impacted, right? Just because we did it doesn't mean that the change is inside of Jira. You get to choose if you push those changes in. I would leave, right? So the way I would use a scenario is that my main scenario is the one where it has the actual good data, and the backup scenarios are just theoretical. I never push those changes in. So it's up to you if you want to push the changes in. If you never push the changes in, then they are going to be like, it's going to behave like a sandbox, right? It's going to behave like an experimentation, but it's up to you if you ever hit that button. So you want to be careful with that. Mel also asked, if we move a story from one epic to another in a certain scenario, such as a contingency plan, does it truly get reassigned in the project? Again, I can do that change, right? I can, oopsie, I'm clicking on the wrong spot. So I can take this story and move it to this other epic here. And again, nothing happens. I can open up, right? I can go back to my main plan, and I can go to B1. B1's still going to have B10 here, right? There's no changes to push in. And it's not until I choose to push the changes in, because you're going to see that I have changed the parent. If you push those changes in from the scenario, then they impact your actual project. So if you don't care for that, don't push the changes in. Okay, that should be just your biggest caveat. Don't push changes in from your scenarios if you don't want them inside your actual production Jira. All right, just leave everything in a what if state here, and you should be fine. But again, that's more of a personal choice than an actual rule, because as you can see, I can very easily, Jira's not going to complain, push the changes in, and now those changes are inside of Jira, and they've taken effect. All right. All right, folks, again, attend the conference. We're coming down, folks. We are down to the last October sessions. November and December, we have 3 more sessions left. So if you want to sign up for those, I will try my best to make sure I update the link so you all don't have a hard time. Folks, I've done like all of these, and it's the first time I made a mistake. So give me some slack. All right. But yeah, we have a couple more events happening, and so this is it. Once these events run out, folks, I am not doing these in 2026. And so if you enjoyed these or you are enjoying these, make sure you attend. Sign up for the last ones because I will not be doing any of these events, any of these sessions in 2026. So make sure you either subscribe to the channel so you can watch the replays, or make sure you attend these in person, or attend these, like come to them when I'm live so that you can actually ask questions and whatnot, right? Because this is it. Once we get to December, once the clock strikes December 23rd, I believe is the last one that I'm going to be doing reporting in Confluence. We are done. There will be no more, and you'll never see these from me again. And then finally, just to kind of close things up, connect with me on LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this session and you want to continue the conversation, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd be more than happy to either a follow or a connection request. Become a member. I have a bunch of stuff available for my members, and we're going to be doing a lot of exciting things in 2026 for the members. In fact, members become my most important priority in 2026. We have a merch store with some cool stuff. Go subscribe over to the Jira Live, subscribe to this channel. And in 2026, we are going to be doing these over Zoom, and we're going to be doing more like cohort style. So if you're interested in any of those, keep an eye out, but definitely connect with me on LinkedIn so you're aware of all the cool things that are going to be happening as we start getting ready for 2026. So hopefully, folks, I see you all in October. Again, sign up for the event. We only have 47 spots left. And so if you want your shot to actually attend the conference, which is going to be the coolest conference you ever go to, you are definitely going to want to sign up and take one of those limited spots. We are planning on the PMI team, the Project Management Institute, the LA chapter, is going to be making and promoting this event to their folks. And they have 3,000 people. So I do expect these sessions to go quickly over the next 24 to 48 hours. So jump on it now while you can, because now's the opportunity to jump at it. All right, folks. Again, thank you so much for being here. Again, this was a quick one. Scenarios are easy. I was overly zealous, I think is the right, overzealous back in December last year when I was setting these up, and probably shouldn't have done a whole section just on scenarios, but we're here, and this is it. So thank you all for being here. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you all next month. Bye.